everyone, and welcome to Marketing and Sales Over Cocktails, the weekly podcast that helps you grow your business, improve your life, and enjoy yourself along the way. I'm your host, Alan Langer, and every week we try to bring you the best thought leaders, the best business leaders, and the best minds out there to help you succeed in business and in life. So sit back, relax, grab your pad, your pen, and your favorite beverage, and enjoy the next episode of Marketing and Sales Over Cocktails. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Marketing and Sales Over Cocktails. This is your host, Alan Langer. We are at episode 42 tonight as we move along into the 2021 podcast season, and I am very, very excited to have Melissa Worrel-Johnson, or Worrel. I see I screwed it up right away, Melissa. Melissa Worrel-Johnson tonight, who is a leadership coach, and she's one of those badasses on LinkedIn that I met, and I really enjoyed when we chatted. So had her on my podcast. We're going to get to Melissa in a second, but before we do, just the normal notes I start with. Visit the website, marketingandsalespodcast.com, and send in the form for the Ask Alan segment. Just go to the contact section, fill it out, ask me a question, and if we read your question on the air, you get a free signed autographed copy of my book. And we've got a question from Dublin, England tonight. How cool is that? So I am in Rhode Island, United States. So we've got someone over in the UK actually listening to the show. So as we move along, we are going to introduce Melissa Worrel-Johnson to the show. Melissa, how you doing tonight?
I'm great, Alan. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So Melissa was telling me before we were chatting that if I heard a bark, she's got a new puppy. So for 3 weeks, she's had a puppy in the house. So she doesn't look like she's lost that much sleep, but I've been there. I understand. So congratulations on the new little pooch.
Yeah, thanks. I've officially become a dog mom.
Yeah. Well, it is 5 o'clock here for me. I've had, 8 or 9 Zooms today. So normally I have wine, but I do have a little Maker's Mark. So what do you got? I heard you're like hiding some wine in a Yeti tonight.
You've got it.
There we go. Well, here's a virtual cheers to you. Thank you for joining the show, Melissa. And let's get into this a little bit. So you are a leadership coach, learning and development implementor. I can't even speak. I probably should stop drinking. And tell people, you deal with small business coaches or small business owners. Tell people a little bit about what you do and how you got into it and how you help people.
Sure. That's a great question, Alan. And, one of the things that I am passionate about when I say leadership coaching is how are we developing those future leaders and the folks that are VP level, director level. They're maybe a individual contributor and they want to move up the ladder, but not necessarily sure where they get some of those leadership abilities, capabilities, or skills. And so most of my clients come to me either as a referral through an organization that I partner with, or they're an individual that they know they need to pay for coaching. They want someone outside their organization as a thought partner or an accountability partner. And I work with my clients in that way. So most of my clients are either in corporate America looking to promote, they're looking for career coaching. So they either want to promote within their company, but need to shore up LinkedIn, resume, or they want to change verticals. So they're ready to make a change. And then small business owners are a passion of mine as I started my career as a small business owner and then moved into the corporate landscape and left corporate as a senior VP role and started my own business in coaching. So I love working with people. I say people, passion, and on purpose, the 3 Ps of what drive me.
Wow. So you kind of help people on a career path in a corporate world and then also on a small business entrepreneurial path. So you can kind of do it all, right?
Yeah. When you say it like that, sure do. I do. Yeah, absolutely.
You do it all.
Yeah.
So I was actually, I was on a live stream this morning with another coach. She was sort of an entrepreneurial coach. And I asked her the same question. I'm going to ask you, what are you seeing, like maybe the top 2 or 3 things that people are coming for you for help for?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. And, the things that pop to my mind right away is one of the first things that comes up almost always is imposter syndrome. So someone that's moved into a higher level of authority and they have this moment of, oh man, I've gotten a promotion. Someone saw something in me. Now I need to deliver, right? So working through some of that, a lot of that comes down to role confidence internal confidence, how they show up, right? And that doesn't, when I say executive presence, it doesn't mean how your hair is done, what suit you wear. It's more about what the things you exude. So that's a big one. Another big one is time management. Mm-hmm. And maybe that sounds very elementary, but as you move up in authority or in your role responsibilities, how do you delegate better? How do you manage up as well as manage down? How do you time block so that if you're back to back in meetings and all of a sudden you realize you've given yourself no time to actually get work done? All of those things come into play of having some work-life balance, which also comes into play as you move up the ladder and the level of responsibility. And the last one I would say is really, we just work on just that team culture. So how do you handle building a team? How do you give someone enough time to analyze if they're the right seat on the bus or if you need to make a move? How do you go into a new team and build relationships first and really take a view of what you're working with as a whole before you make instant decisions, right? Some of us have those, whether it's an unconscious or conscious bias. How do you put those at the side and make sure you look at your whole team and what you're operating with before you make decisions? So those would be the three big ones for me.
Wow. And when you mentioned the time management, I shook my head I nodded my head because I think everyone probably listening to this nodded their head, because I think that's probably one of the biggest issues that people have with is managing their time. And our question from Ireland later is going to touch on that a little bit, but like, this is a great example for me, or experience for me. Like, this week has been, it's a good problem to have, but I've had so many Zoom calls, and I realized that I had my calendar set up for every half hour. And literally yesterday, I had 6 half-hour calls all back to back with no break. And I'm like, that's just was crazy. And I'm like, I got to figure. So I went on my calendar thing. I'm like, oh, I can do a buffer here. Oh, I can set maximum appointments for the day. Like, I have to do that because I was shot yesterday because I just had all these openings and they filled up, and it was crazy.
Yeah. That ability to give yourself that front end and back end time, and also the maximum amount of appointments. Like, how effective are you in that 6th call, right?
Not effective at all. You're right. 100%.
Right. There's just no way to keep that energy level the same, regardless of how passionate you are. There's a point where you've hit the bucket of energy is gone.
Yeah. I actually did some training with a company where all they were, and this is a problem with a lot of companies in the sales world, is they're all about the numbers. We want our reps to be running as many appointments as possible. So they had their reps running 3 appointments a day, and most appointments were about 2 hours. So 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to convince them 2 a day. If they're running 3, they get to that 6 o'clock appointment, they're shot. And then they went back. It was amazing. They never looked at the metrics. Like, the closing percentage of the 6 o'clock appointments was 20% lower than anything else. So you're so right. It's like you have to manage your time in such a way where less is more. Yeah.
And is that company, the question I have is, what is your outcome? Like, do you want the number of appointments, or do you want quality appointments that have a higher closing ratio? Right. It's like
100%.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah. And that's the, I was talking to Chris Walker, who's a marketing guy on LinkedIn. He was on my podcast just released. And that's the whole conundrum in corporate America is like, well, we need a bajillion leads, but then the sales team's only closing 25% because half of the bajillion leads aren't your customer anyway. And it's just that continual cycle.
Yeah. And it's a vicious circle. They're going to have, like, my boss needs me to have 3 appointments a day. So I'm going to have 3 appointments, even if I know this one is not a chance in heck that they're going to move forward. Right.
Yeah. And then the collateral damage of that is now you feel like a crappy salesperson because you can't sell it. So it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
So talk about, I'm a big goals guy. I love goals. And I love in your about section on LinkedIn, you wrote, our goals are only dreams without a plan. You partner with clients to achieve their goals, overcome their obstacles, and get unstuck. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So when I think about coaching and the clients I work with, I always say I'm an accountability partner and a thought partner. And at times I'll be both. At times I'll be one or the other. And at times I'm neither. But for most of my clients, in the beginning of our sessions, I'll say, what is your desired outcome for the day? And it may be uncovering a plan or getting a different lens on how they're working towards a solution with a team member. It could be actual goals that they need to set. And why I say a goal is just a dream without a plan is if you don't have a plan of attack of how you want to do it. And for some people, it has to be very tactical, right? A to Z, like I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this. Other people have a plan that's a little more loose, but they know once they have that in their head, they're running full steam. And so meeting my client where they are, knowing how they operate, and no one is the same, right? Let's get that right.
Yep.
And working with them on the best way for them to move forward. And how do they want me to hold them accountable? Do they want me to be an accountability partner, or do they just need to verbally process where they're going to outline their plan, and ultimately then they've got it? So, the power of having someone external from your organization is that my entire goal is to help them, and they're my client, right? Not their organization. Mm-hmm. And all of us are well suited to have that thought partner and accountability partner that isn't going to turn around and say, but you said you were going to do this, right? So mm-hmm. I set goals with them, or they set goals with me. And if they don't finish something by our next call, I'm not saying, man, you didn't do that, right? They know what they set their goals to be. So yeah, it's a really fun process, and seeing the progress is every bit of the reward that fills my cup, right?
Yeah, I can attest to that, because when I do my coaching, it's really sales oriented, but it's also, I help with LinkedIn profiles and going from A to B to Z, and right when you get to that 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th week, and they've reached these goals, and they're like a completely different professional than when we started. It's really cool. It's a cool thing to help with. But the accountability partner is such a big deal. And I'll be honest, I didn't realize it was such a big deal until I actually got an accountability partner this year. Now, she's not a coach, but we basically hold each other accountable, and we talk once a week. Mm-hmm. And we basically say, what are we doing this week? And we better have it done by the time we get on that call the next Tuesday, because you don't want to be the person who didn't do it.
For sure. Yeah.
And it's such a cool thing. So yeah, I mean, talk about not only having a coach, but maybe finding an accountability partner professionally that people can do.
Absolutely. And when you say that, Alan, what it brings to the table for me is I have a mentor coach who I pay, right? She's the person that I talk to twice a month. I have a group of, they happen to be all women, but other female coaches that we meet every Monday. And it literally is, what are your goals for the week? What did you want to get done last week? Did you do it? And that saying it out loud to someone else makes it so much more real than just having the goal written down on paper or in your head with yourself. So yeah, I agree. An accountability partner does not have to be a paid for person. It can be someone in a similar industry or completely different industry that you respect each other's goals of where they're going. And to your point, having that weekly check-in, that's huge. Yeah.
And it could be a little fun too. So we kind of like compete against each other. Like right before the end of the year, we were both talking about starting, she's a coach as well, but she's more like a branding coach. And we should start a TikTok account. And we talked about it for a couple of weeks. I'm like, all right, we're doing it this week. We're coming back next Tuesday, and we're both going to have a TikTok account. And we both did. And now we're like, how many views did you get? Oh, my video got this many. So now we're kind of competing against it. But I would have never in a million years started a TikTok account without having this accountability coach to kick me in the ass to do it.
Yeah, nope. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And I appreciate all of my accountability partners too.
So do you find, let's talk a little bit about the whole, like, did you find yourself more busy because of COVID? Did COVID affect your business? How did COVID affect the coaching business? And did you find yourself pivoting like a lot of people had to do, or adjusting? So give us a little, experience of what happened with you with COVID.
Sure. So this one might catch you a little bit off guard. So I had been in corporate America, so owned 2 small businesses prior to moving into corporate, spent 16 years in 2 large insurance companies in different roles. And when our CEO announced he was leaving, the new CEO was announced, which wasn't my previous boss. And I said to my now husband at the time, I think I'm going to get, maybe they'll eliminate my role. I'm not quite sure, because a new CEO, I probably wasn't his jam. I have a lot of energy. Some people have called me a character, right? Like I'm unique. I'm unique. We're all unique, but I'm spicy, maybe is a good word. And so on March 2nd, my role was eliminated at the corporate job that I had, and I loved what I did. And when you say pivot, my entire world pivoted on March 2nd. And I actually hired a career coach, and she said, I won't work with you until you know what your why is. I'm like, I've been in corporate. I've been working for 18 years. I know what my why is. She goes, I don't think you do. So she forced me to do some, internal and external processing about what I want to do. And when I said the 3 P's about people, passion, and purpose, the parts of my job I've always loved is people. How do you build culture? How do you rise people up? How do you help elevate someone to the next level of where they want to go if that's what they're targeted towards? And at least 3 times I had people say, Mel, you should be a coach. You should help people in their journey of where they're going. I was like, okay, I hear you. I hear everyone that it's coming at me. So I made the decision to partner with an organization that I'm an independent contractor under them. I hunt what I kill, right? So in the sales world, I'm responsible. I'm a 1099 for my business. And I went to coaching school. So I wanted to not be, and I don't mean this offensive, but I didn't want to be the fly-by-night coach where I call myself a coach because I have some experience and really I'm a consultant who calls myself a coach. So I wanted to go and be really trained in a pure coach approach. And then I did a second bit of training that was more business coaching, and it layered on top of that peer coach approach, and joined the Carlson Group as an independent consultant with them in June, and been building my business. And so it has been, as far as COVID goes, one of the partners said, you should wait till COVID is done. And the other partner said, why would you wait? Get all these things done and be ramped up. And so I would say, frankly, my business is thriving. The amount of clients I have, my mentor coach would say would take a full calendar year to get there. And that happened once it got ramped up in about 3 months. So things are going great, and I'm getting to help people in their journey. And it's funny, when I first had my role eliminated, not to get long-winded, I really had this moment of like, man, is this a blessing in disguise? And eventually it became just a blessing, right? It wasn't a disguise, because I wouldn't have pulled the trigger on my own. But being back to being my own boss, because I started as a small business owner and then went into corporate, and now being a small business owner again, just thrilled for where my business is at and the opportunities that are arising, and all the fun that I'm having in the clients that I get to work with.
Wow. So tell us, I mean, you just said something there that kind of blew me away. So you filled your calendar in 3 months. Is there anything specific that you did to do that? Did you work LinkedIn a different way, or how did you get so many clients so quickly?
Yeah. So when I look at my client list right now, the power of referral and networking, and Alan, it's not magic, right? And as you know, as you've built a business, and any of those that are listening that have built a business, there's no silver bullet to success. There's a lot of hard work and grit, and not accepting failure, right? So I always say, skinning your knees is one of the best things you can do in life, because it's how you get back up and get going and realize that it's just a scab and you can keep going, right? So I reached out to all of my centers of influence, right? So think back to my sales life of being in insurance. All of my centers of influence, I introduced a letter of, here's what I'm doing, here's what happened. I got really engaged in LinkedIn, and one of my clients is from LinkedIn. But for LinkedIn, for me, it's more about giving content that, whether it can help people, help their mindset, give them a positive outlook. It's leadership tidbits, it's emotional intelligence, what matters, what are you most proud of for 2020, what was your word of the year for 2020, things like that. That LinkedIn, for me, could it be a place that clients come from? Of course, but I haven't necessarily used it in that light. My centers of influence have been amazing. And I think that has a lot to do with, and this isn't me being boastful, but I'm a relationship person. I've not burned bridges along the way. I've lived in 7 states, 3 of them twice. So every state that I've lived in, I've stayed in contact with people that I connected with, and people matter, right? So our businesses are all about people. And I've just never been a transactional human. I never made a sale and thought I'd never see them again. I always wanted to have that relationship that if I circled back. And the other thing that I would say is being a bit vulnerable and asking for help, right? So a lot of us don't want to ask for help. And I'm proud. I'm a proud person. I was a senior vice president when I left my organization, made more money than I probably deserved to make, right? Like I was working a lot, but they paid me very well. And I asked for help. I put it out there that, hey, this is what happened. This is what I want to do and the passion I have for it. And I think when people know you're authentic, they want to help you be successful. And the clients that I work with, I couldn't be more happy to partner with clients that are right in my wheelhouse. And all of my clients and potential clients, we have an initial 30-minute meeting, which is really about fit. Do they think I'm a good fit for them? And frankly, do I think they're a good fit for me? Fit and timing matter. And there have been people I've met with that I don't think we're a good fit, and I don't push the issue. If they want to coach, I'll work with them. But we both realize quickly that if they're super analytical, we're probably not a great fit. And I nothing against analytical people, but I'm not super analytical. I'm a fast talker. I'm a fast walker. I've got lots of ideas, right? And I've been in sales a long time, and it's not about sales, but pace, speed, how you think about things. When you look for a coach or someone that you want to partner with, having some similarities and where that ease of conversation happens very quickly and naturally makes a big difference in that coaching partnership.
So go back to this. So since this is called marketing and sales over cocktails, your successful sales career to me is awesome and intriguing. So if you had to, I like to ask this question for successful salespeople, point to one or two things in your career that you believe made you successful in selling.
So
I think you already mentioned it, but I'm going to make you put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, the first thing that comes to mind is relationships. And honestly, I still think back, and I don't know if he even would be ever listening to this podcast, but when I started my farmers agency, so I had a franchise first, and then I started a farmers agency in Seattle, Washington. And there was an agent, and his name was Johnson Marshall. And he took me under his wing, did not have to. He showed me how he went and did face-to-face marketing, how he popped by mortgage offices and realtor offices with donuts, and just went in there literally to shoot the shit. Like, he went in there with no purpose other than to just build a relationship. And he had more impact on me seeing what the importance of true relationship building is. And if you're going in for the sale, you're going at it all wrong. My entire sales process as an agent and beyond was, if I educated them in something that they needed to know and something that was important to them, they'd want to work with me. It was never a hard close. It was never about the money, because people want to work with people they like and trust and know that they're getting honest information from, and that the entire purpose is to help them. And maybe I sound like I'm preaching, but
you're not. But it's crazy that, this is sort of like, it's kind of become like a little bit of a buzz phrase, helping during the selling process, but no one is practicing it. It's still the same. Have to lead with the sale, have to hit my numbers, have to do all of that stuff. And what happens is, and this is what I train, it's like when you go in there and you're the anti-salesperson, you're actually the salesperson that actually wants to help them genuinely, like you're really genuine about it.
Sure.
They think you are like sent from heaven, because they don't, most of the time, they're not experiencing that type of salesperson in front of them.
I'm just chuckling because, Alan, what it makes me think of is, like, every time as humans, we walk into a store and a salesperson comes up to you and says, "Can I help you with something?" We instantly say, "No, I'm just looking." Right. Well, it's a total farce. Like, we went in there because we want to buy something. We've been taught to say that because we don't want the typical salesperson to, like, they're mine, right? This is my lead. This is my up. And if we really felt like people were genuinely just trying to help us in what we were trying to do without the pressure of buying something, I don't think our response would be, "No, I'm just looking." So.
No, it would be like, "Oh yeah, I need this." Like, I put this in my book. Like, how many times if you had to go, we've all been to a mattress store because we've all needed to buy a mattress. You walk in and you think to yourself, "All right, I hope I can find something right up here front." And the guy's in the back in his bad suit, and you're like, "Please don't come up here. Just leave me alone. I'll pick this out on my own. I'll tell you what I want to buy." You don't want them coming near you. And it's that whole feeling of talking to a salesperson that's the perception out there, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm smiling internally and externally. Cracking me up.
Oh, great. Well, especially in insurance. I mean, talk about, almost a commodity sale or product, that's just like you shake a tree and an insurance agent falls out of it. So that even made, relationships even more important for you guys.
Absolutely. And we talked about all the time. And even when I left my most recent role and we were involved in the recruiting and developing and putting agents in the right places where we needed market share or where there wasn't an agent to serve the local community, is what is going to make you different? If you are doing phone sales, quoting over the phone, sending quotes via email, you are 1-800 whatever company you want to put behind it. So what are you doing that makes it personal? Because they're paying more likely and they need personal service. So if you're not making it personal, you shouldn't be an agent.
Mm-hmm. That's such a great point. It's even if you're on the phone, how many times do we get so excited when we talk to someone on the phone who's actually feels like they actually want to have a conversation with us rather than being that annoying customer service. There's an oxymoron if I ever heard one, that representative that you don't want to talk to. You're like, wow, this is not customer service.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. So,
True.
All right. I want to get into this question because I think it's a great question, not only for coaches but anyone who lives life is going to have the answer to this is going to help them. So this is from Dublin, Ireland, a lady named Livy. I think it's a lady, Livy, I'm not sure, but I'm going to assume it's a female. And she writes, what are some of the best ways to stay motivated and avoid procrastination? Simple, quick, powerful question. How would you answer that, Mel?
Yeah, motivated and avoid procrastination. So for me, if that were something I was trying to answer for myself, one, I have a plan. I'm a planner. So know how you operate best. Make sure your day is time blocked. So my day, I know when I start, I know when I want to stop. And if I have a break, right? If I have a couple hours that are open, I'll go get some exercise. So I know that sounds silly, but your mindset of if you're in a good spot and you've got people around you, especially in COVID, who are your core 5 people that you talk to that help keep you in that positive mind space of moving forward when we're spending a lot of time alone or alienated from our friends and family. For me, it's people, it's getting some exercise, having a plan, and stick to that plan. It's easy to get off plan, but if you're getting off plan, what was the trigger that made you go look at Facebook or do a load of laundry, right? What are you avoiding? Generally, when we get off plan, it's because it's the thing we don't want to do. So maybe that's the thing you do first in the morning, knock it out of the park, and then leave the easy stuff for the rest of the day. Yeah.
And that's amazing advice. And I would add to it, for me, procrastination always came from avoidance, like you said, but almost being overwhelmed. And what I learned this year, and it was one of the best things I've ever learned from a personal standpoint and a business standpoint, is I would have my to-do list. Like, this is my to-do list for the starts for the week. But I would just have this every day, and I'd look at it. And like, you look at that, you get anxiety. Like, look at this, you probably have the same thing.
I've got my to-do list, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
That would give me anxiety every day. So I would I've got my 30 things listed. Okay, which one am I going to start with? I start to pick and choose. And all of a sudden, a half hour later, I'm on my phone flipping through Instagram because I didn't want to start because I was overwhelmed. So what I did to stop that procrastination is I took every one of these things, every one of these items, and I gave it a time slot on my calendar. And now, so when I have, send this email to Joe Smith, instead of just having it written, I have 10 o'clock to 10:15, send the email to Joe Smith. And I do it and it's done. And here's the thing that I had to really figure out how to navigate. When I put, let's say I put 7 tasks on a Monday around some appointments, I actually finished them. My day was done because I had all the rest of the tasks are on that week. But I would still find myself like, all right, what do I have to do now? It's 5 o'clock. I still have my to-do list, and I'd have no, you're done. Tomorrow you have your other 3 tasks to do, and Wednesday you have those. And man, when you can do that, and it took me a little while to get used to it, it was so freeing to do that. And now I don't procrastinate. I just do the tasks that I wrote on that day, and then I'm done. Yeah.
And then you're not having to do it twice. By look on your calendar, you've already plugged it in to the time slot when you're going to accomplish it. So yeah, that's amazing advice. Agree.
Yeah. And obviously things pop up during the week, but if they pop up and I put them on the calendar again, or I make sure that I can't get this done this week, I'll put it to next week. So Yeah, when I got that from another coach, Kiara Cavone gave me that advice. And I think I learned that in July, and it was still the best advice I ever got. So, and I've even tried, like, I'm like, all right, I'm going to skip this week and see how it goes. And the anxiety level goes up and the stress goes up again because it's just not. Yeah. So, well, this has been awesome.
Efficient. I hear you say efficiency.
Yeah, it just, and again, it may not be for everyone because, you have ADHD, maybe, lists drive you crazy and you can't do it. But, if that helps 5 people or 2 people, it's 2 more than knew about it yesterday. So
for sure.
So give us some final thoughts. Like, we're heading into 2021, you're a coach, you're a motivator, you're an accountability person. What would you say to, you got the sales reps listening, you got the marketing people listening, you got the small business owners. Give us some Mel advice heading, into this year.
Yeah. So my friends would call it Mel mode. I get into Mel mode. And, the things that come to mind instantly is have a plan. 3 things that come to mind around who we are: be authentic, right? Be who you are. Most of us look at being a chameleon of our leader because we think that's who we're supposed to be. Picking up some of their great abilities are great, but if you just mirror who they are, who are you, right? Where did you fall in there? Transparency, right? Being transparent with your team, but not overly transparent. Tell them the things they need to know, but don't keep everything locked in with you. And how do you keep good communication? So those communication skills of, I talked earlier about managing up, managing down, but authentic, transparent, and communication. Those are the 3 that I think are really important. If you were to put those on a stool and say, those are the 3 legs of a stool, without one or the other, I think it makes things a lot harder. And
authentic, transparent, and communication, ATC.
Yep. And the other thing I would say is if you think you can, you can.
Yep.
And I don't think about the other. So just get after it, right?
Get after it. And you know what? And here's how I'll answer my own question, because this is just a personal experience that I just had. So I sat down with a coach, my first coach that I have, and she kicked me in the ass the very first meeting. I've been writing a fiction book. I've had a fiction book on the shelf for 10 years now, and it takes place in Africa. And for most of those 10 years, top of my bucket list was to go to Africa. So I tell her this, and she's like, okay, you're going to wait another year? And then that year, you're going to wait another year? And it all it took was for her to say that, for someone else to tell me that. And literally 3 days later, I booked my trip to Africa this July, and I'm going.
Amazing.
And that is the power of having a coach. That's the power of having someone to talk to you so you can get the things out, get it out of your body, have someone else listen to it, because it makes all the difference in the world.
Well said.
Well, thank you.
Well said.
Well, Melissa, Mel Worrel-Johnson, thank you for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. And I am going to once again reiterate to send in the question to the Ask Alan segment, because Livy is getting a book from me over in Ireland. Livy, it's probably going to take a while to get over to Ireland, but you will get it. It will be signed by me at some point. So thank you for sending the question in. And I also want to thank everyone else for joining us tonight. I really enjoy having Mel on tonight. I want to thank you as well, Mel, for joining us. And thank you all for listening to the the current episode of Marketing and Sales Over Cocktails. We will see you again next time.